Whispers of 1001 Nights. Episode 1. The Tale of the Merchant and the Genie. Scheherazada's Whisper. In a time beyond time, under the deep velvet sky where stars whispered secrets to the desert sands, there lived a king all, haunted by sorrow and silence. And so, to calm his fury, I, Scheherazade, began to weave stories, one each night, tales so enchanting that the morning sun would rise before I could finish. And tonight, dear dreamer, I shall tell you of the merchant and the wrathful genie. The Merchant's Journey. There once was a wealthy merchant who lived in a grand city near the edge of the desert. He was known for his honesty, his wisdom, and his lost journeys through distant lands. From one fateful spring, he packed his finest silks, spices, and gems upon his camels and set off across the golden dunes to trade with cities beyond the horizon. Days passed. The sun watched from above as his caravan moved slowly under the heat, the sand shifting like ocean waves beneath their feet. When the wind blew, it carried whispers from ancient lands long lost to time. At noon on the 7th day, the merchant grew weary. He dismounted beneath the shade of a lone tree and took out a small meal of dates and bread. After he ate, he washed his hands in a nearby spring and tossed the date pits aside. No sooner had he done so than the ground trembled. From the earth burst forth a towering figure of smoke and fire, a genie, eyes burning with ancient rage. The genie appears. "Human," the genie thundered, "you have slain my son. The pit you cast struck his heart as he sat invisible upon the ground. For this, you must die." The merchant trembled. "My lord," he pleaded, "I had no knowledge. Surely you cannot hold me guilty for a crime I did not intend." But the genie was unmoved. "I swore an oath. Whoever harms my son must pay with his life. Prepare yourself." The merchant's plea. With tears in his eyes, the merchant fell to his knees. "Grant me 1 year. Let me return to my home, settle my affairs, and say farewell to my loved ones. I will return to this spot 1 year from now, on this very day, and offer my neck to your sword." The genie paused. His rage flickered like a candle in the wind. "1 year," he said at last. "If you do not return, I shall hunt you to the ends of the earth." With that, the genie vanished. The year of farewell. The merchant journeyed home in sorrow. He hugged his children tighter, kissed his wife's forehead longer, and gave away much of his wealth. He told no one of his fate, only that he had seen something in the desert that had changed his heart. As the year passed, he made peace with all things, and when the appointed day arrived, he kissed his family one last time, mounted his camel, and rode alone into the setting sun. The Return and the 3 Old Men. As the merchant neared the place where he was to die, he met an old man leading a deer on a golden chain. "Peace upon you," said the man. "Why do you look as one going to his doom?" The merchant told him all. "If I may," said the man, "I will wait with you. Perhaps I can speak in your defense." Shortly after, a second old man appeared, leading 2 black dogs. He too heard the tale and chose to wait. Then came a third, with a chest upon his back filled with rare gems. He too agreed to stay. As the sun reached its peak, The genie appeared. "You have returned," the genie growled. "And brought witnesses?" "Not witnesses," said the first old man, "but storytellers. Let us offer you tales, and if you find them wondrous enough, perhaps you will spare this honest man." "The first old man's tale." "My tale," said the first old man, "is of love, betrayal, and transformation. Long ago I had a wife whom I loved deeply. One day I discovered she was a sorceress. In secret, she had turned my mistress into a cow and my son into a bull. I only learned the truth from an old servant who remained loyal to me. With her help, I took the bull to a great festival where a wise sage immediately sensed the enchantment. He broke the spell, and my son returned to his human form. In rage, I confronted my wife. She confessed, and in grief, I banished her to a faraway island under enchantment herself. As a sign of the tale's truth, the deer beside me is that very woman, still living in remorse. The genie nodded slowly. The second old man's tale expanded. "My tale," said the second old man, his hand gently resting on the heads of the two black dogs, "is one of family, betrayal, and a curse born of gride. Many years ago, I was the youngest of 3 brothers. We inherited a great fortune from our father, a caravan business that stretched across the lands from Cairo to Samarkand. I was the one who kept the books, who studied the stars for safe passage, who believed in fairness. My brothers, they believed in gold. They pushed me aside in every decision. When we traveled, they took the finest tents and left me to sleep in the sand. When we sold our goods, they pocketed the profits and handed me copper. Still, I stayed, for they were my blood. One day we came upon a ruined city in the desert, half buried in sand. The locals whispered of a hidden vault filled with treasures from an ancient king who vanished into legend. My brothers were intoxicated by the idea. We hired diggers and broke through the stone. Inside was a single chest. When we opened it, we found jewels that shimmered like stars and gold coins older than time itself, but also a scroll. It warned, "Take only what you need. The rest belongs to the earth." They laughed. "We need all of it," they said.
That night, while I slept, they drugged my wine. I awoke in a well, cold and broken, left to die. They rode off with everything.
I prayed, for days, to every god I had ever known. And on the 4th night, I dreamed of a woman made of moonlight. She said, "Your heart is pure. I will give you justice, not revenge." I awoke on the shore of a hidden oasis. A palace stood there, made of alabaster and light. Inside lived the woman I had seen, a sorceress who guarded the balance between realms. She healed me, listened to my tale, and wept. "Your brothers will walk beside you," she said, "but not as men, not until they learn humility." With a gesture, she summoned them, bound in chains of light, transformed into these 2 black dogs. 10 years they shall serve you," she said, "loyal, silent, watching the world through different eyes." That was 8 years ago. Since then, they have protected me, slept by my feet, and listened to every word I speak. "If you see only dogs," the old man whispered, "you miss the point. They are regret. They are transformation. He knelt beside them and stroked their backs. They have changed. And when their time is up, I will ask the sorceress to make them men again. For even betrayal deserves a second chance. The genie folded his arms. The fire in his breath grew warmer, not with rage, but with curiosity. Very well, he said. Let us hear the third and final tale. The third old man's tale expanded. The voice grows quieter, more reflective. My tale, said the third old man as he unstrapped the heavy wooden chest from his back and set it gently on the ground, is one of knowledge, obsession, and forgetting. I was once a scholar in a great city by the sea, a place where knowledge flowed like rivers, and scrolls filled towers so high they pierced the clouds. I was young, gifted in languages and logic, and endlessly curious. In my studies, I discovered a legend, a book said to contain the wisdom of the stars, written by a civilization that vanished before time itself began. It was called the Book of Night Whispers. It was said that whoever read it would understand the secrets of the unseen world, the thoughts of the wind, the dreams of the moon, even the language of shadows. I became obsessed. I left my home. I said farewell to my family, my students, and my name. I crossed scorching deserts where the sand sang lullabies. I climbed mountains where no bird dared fly. I swam through underground rivers, lit only by glowing moss. Years passed. One night, in a city of mirrors hidden in the heart of a storm, I found an old man who knew the book. He told me many have sought it. None return the same. You will lose something, perhaps everything. I did not care. I had come too far. He gave me a key made of bone and a riddle. What you seek will vanish when held, but guide when followed. It lives in the dark and dies in the light. The answer came to me in a dream, a whisper. With that, I found the book. It rested atop a pedestal made of stone older than the earth. The moment I opened it, the words did not speak. They sang, and in their song I saw visions, cities that float, beasts made of flame, doors that open into dreams. But then the book spoke to me, not in voice, but in silence. To know all things, it said, is to forget yourself. And I did. I forgot my name, my home, my past. I awoke days later in a field of lavender, the book gone. Only this chest remained, filled with scrolls, written in my own hand, yet in a language I had never learned. Each scroll tells a different piece of my own story. One I no longer remember. Now I travel, carrying the echoes of who I was. And every night I read one scroll aloud before I sleep, hoping to remember just a little more. He opened the chest. The scrolls inside shimmered faintly in the light, as if alive. This is my tale, he whispered, of gaining everything and losing myself. The genie sat in silence. Even the wind held its breath. Then, slowly, he stood. The third old man's tale continued. The genie stood motionless. His body, formed of flame and shadow, flickered gently in the desert light. The three old men, the merchant, and even the wind awaited his verdict. At last, the genie spoke. 3 tales, 3 lives, each soaked in sorrow, wisdom, and magic. And you, merchant, you kept your word. You returned to face your death. Few men have such honor." He floated slowly down to the earth, his voice no longer thunder, but echo. Scheherazade spoke truth. Stories carry weight, heavier than gold, deeper than blood. The genie extended his hand. In it appeared a burning sigil, shaped like an ancient rune. "You are free," he said, and cast the flame into the air. It dissolved in silence. The merchant fell to his knees, overwhelmed, not with fear, but with gratitude. The genie turned to the three old men. "You too are bound by no debt, yet you stayed. You gave stories instead of swords. This world needs more of you." He rose into the air once more, his body beginning to unravel into starlight. "But remember," he said, his voice now barely more than a breath, "even the darkest spirits can be soothed, if only someone listens." And then he was gone. The desert was still again. The merchant embraced the three old men. None spoke for a time. There were no more words. Only the hush of wind between dunes and the distant cry of a hawk overhead. One by one, the old men turned and walked away, each taking their story with them. And the merchant. He mounted his camel and began the long journey home, his heart no longer heavy with fear, but full of wonder and the quiet power of stories. Final whisper. Scheherazade's voice returns. "And so ends the tale of the merchant and the genie," Scheherazade whispered, her voice softer than moonlight. "But remember, dear dreamer, the desert never forgets, nor do the stars. Sleep now, for tomorrow brings another story, hidden in time, waiting to be told."